right, well, welcome to the very first episode of Conrad's Corner, where I, your host, Conrad, right there, will be spending a few minutes each episode chatting with experts from AIM Transportation Solutions about the challenges and trends shaping our industry. And today we're talking tariffs, specifically how they're driving up prices for fleet operators and what they can do about it. And joining me today is fellow science fiction geek Matt Svancara, who is the Chief Operating Officer of AIM Leasing Company, or in Star Trek lingo, he'd be our first officer if we were aboard the Starship Enterprise. So, Matt, thank you so much for being the very first guest on Conrad's Corner. And would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself, maybe how long you've been in the industry, how long you've been at AIM, and then a little bit about your role as COO?
Yes, thanks, Conrad. Yes, Conrad and I are fellow science fiction geeks. We have many conversations at the water cooler, as they say, talking about some of the Star Trek episodes and things out there. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, thanks again, Conrad. I've actually been in the industry for over 35 years. Got my start going through college, working for one of the large competitors, renting trucks on evenings and weekends and things like that, and just took a series of opportunities in my career to kind of move up the ladder, and got recruited away from one of those larger competitors quite a while ago by the owner Tom Fleming of AIM, and so I've been with AIM 29 years this year. So as COO, I oversee all of the operations and sales for the leasing division. And AIM, right now is the third largest independent leasing company in the United States. So it keeps me kind of busy, and as you would say in science fiction terms, keep the starship running smoothly.
Absolutely, absolutely, and what a great job you do. And so, with your background and your expertise, I have to say you're definitely the guy to have on here discussing today's topic. So let's go ahead and get into it, and let's start with the basics. So, how are tariffs currently impacting costs for fleets?
Yeah, it's hitting hard, Conrad. As everybody knows, there's, although equipment might be manufactured in the United States, a lot of the components and materials that make up vehicles come from outside the United States. So with the talk that you hear out there that there's tariffs on aluminum and steel and all kinds of various components from different countries, all those little components make up a vehicle. And if all those components go up in price, then the price of the vehicle is going to go up in price. And that just gets passed on to the buyer as extra cost. I think one of the things we're seeing in the industry this year is just the uncertainty. Do I buy a vehicle now? Do I wait? Is there gonna be a tariff? Is there gonna be a tariff? And so a lot of companies out there just don't know what to do. There's also on the horizon the emissions standard change coming up in 2027 for NOx and greenhouse gases, and there's a lot of uncertainty with that. Is there going to be an engine that's going to meet the standards? What's the cost of that engine going to be? So just a lot of uncertainty. So the tariffs right now, just add into that uncertainty.
Yeah, and so based on kind of what you're seeing and hearing out there, are there any parts or equipment or services that are more affected than others?
It's virtually everything, from brake components to tires to steel parts, electronics. You see all those components and materials in every vehicle that's manufactured. So there really isn't anything that's not affected. From truck bodies, refrigeration units, trailers, the aluminum and steel and all the materials that you see that make up those units, are all subject to being tariffed and being manufactured outside the United States.
Yeah, and I guess that segues perfectly into the next topic here. So strategies for mitigation. What can fleet operators do to soften the blow of these price increases?
Yeah, there's a few smart strategies out there. One is locking in your pricing through vendor agreements or strategic partnerships. We're also seeing businesses shift more to full service leasing, which can help offset those unpredictable maintenance and parts costs by bundling them into a monthly fixed rate. Also, buying in the U.S., if it's a unit that's manufactured in the United States, it is going to be subject to tariffs by the components that are in the vehicle itself, but the actual unit being manufactured in the United States wouldn't have a tariff on it. But really just working again with your partners and trying to get your costs where they can be predictable and there's some certainty to what you're trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with how unpredictable everything is, I think predictability is kind of priceless right now. So that kind of transitions us into the final question here. How is AIM helping businesses manage these price increases?
Couple things we're doing. Obviously we work with our partners and suppliers to try to mitigate and keep pricing down to a minimal, so that it doesn't get passed on to our customers. We also have a pretty large inventory of on-ground equipment that is available for lease and rental that were purchased pre-tariff. We also have, for companies that own their own equipment, we also have our ProShop division where we can come in and actually maintain equipment on site if you have a large enough operation. We also have various maintenance and PM programs, and we try to secure better pricing and better parts availability, and just try to mitigate the cost increases as much as we can and pass those on to our customers so that they can have an efficient and cost-effective solution to maintaining their fleet.
Yeah, again, it boils down to that predictability and being able to really leverage our size and scope. We are a family-owned and operated company, but we are large enough that we are nationwide, and we can really leverage that buying power. So all great stuff. And that's it for the first episode of Conrad's Corner. Matt, I want to say I know you're a busy man, and so I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me, and I can't wait to talk about the new season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds once it drops. And then finally, I'm going to just test out my sign-off here. From my corner to yours, keep rolling. All right, thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Conrad. Honored to be your first episode.
Honored to have you.